We start our vlog today at beautiful Dumaguete Harbour. You'll see in the distance the ferries, most of them car ferries and passenger ferries. There's also a cat which comes from, I believe, the USA, but all here in Dumaguete, resting peacefully at anchor. Hi guys, g'day and welcome back to Phil in the Philippines, or Phil and Jen in the Philippines, but at the moment I'm running solo because, as everybody knows, Jen is not feeling all that well. I don't know if this subject fits into the category of assisting expats, but it's a thought I had that some of you people out there may be able to assist me with. I put a video on just in the last couple of days which actually showed preschool or primary school as we know, or elementary school as they call it over here, and my stepdaughter's granddaughter's participation in school, and I was quite surprised and obviously happy with the response that I got from that very, very small video, and it got me thinking. Now, this video may only pertain to something that I know about, which is my own home country, but it also may resonate with people from different countries, so bear with me. It's just an idea I'd like to throw out there. As you are aware, or most people are aware, the Philippines is very heavy on education. And to progress in this country, one must go on to what we consider tertiary education, or college or university, after their secondary school, if they ever hope to achieve anything in this country. The unfortunate thing is that even though they're highly educated within this system, and there's a lot of people attending school, and it costs the parents a lot of money to send them, the country does not, or is not in a position to be able to offer these people employment. That's the first thing I want you to keep in mind. The second thing is, because of the situation over here, and because of what I believe is probably the wrong syllabuses, a lot of Western countries don't recognise the degrees that Filipinos obtain in this country. You know, some of the exceptions is nursing, which they're world renowned for, and I'm not sure of the others, but let's just concentrate on nursing. They may have a small study period in a country such as the United States and Australia, and then pass a board exam of some description for that country to be confident that they are qualified in the degree they bring. Well, that's just one area. This country, however, produces, I believe, and this is my own personal opinion, simply because of the prestige in having that degree, an overabundance of engineers, of lawyers, of teachers. And when I say overabundance, there's not enough jobs in this country to actually employ these graduates. The unfortunate thing is that their degrees are rarely, if ever, recognised in other countries. This got me thinking. When I was in the Air Force years ago, I joined as virtually what we'd consider to be an apprentice, which was then a Cat 2B trainee. And that gave us a number of skilled positions we could be trained in. What was amazing in those days, and it's a long time ago now, that we were involved in our country with the apprenticeship system, which usually lasted 4 years. But the Air Force, or the military, were able to compact that training into 12 months, a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on which skill they were teaching you. And from that training, after you did your service, which in my particular case had to be 6 years, one got out and was fully recognised by our own government as being trained in specific tasks, whether it be what they used to call an MT fitter, which was basically a mechanic, or an instrument fitter for aircraft, or a myriad of different things that they train you for that were recognised on the outside. Now, when I say the syllabus is incorrect over here or not up to standard with the West, I'll give you the only example I know. My stepdaughter is currently at college, and she's doing a bachelor's degree in literature. And of course, I was very interested in what was happening with her, and I asked her a question that I thought would have been just the basics of a literature Bachelor of Arts, which was, what's your reading list? What books are you studying for your bachelor's degree? And to my surprise, in the syllabus there was no literature recommended for reading. Now, how they make up that bachelor's degree confounds me. As the more she talked, it was more a communications degree. But as I said, it wasn't recognised as what I would consider a literary degree from universities that I'm aware of. So obviously, whatever degree she obtains and whatever name they give it over here is not applicable to the West. Okay, that's a little rant as far as that's concerned. My main thoughts were, my country, Australia, every year basically advertises in countries such as the Philippines and in the Pacific for very menial tasks like fruit picking. And they obtain visas and come over in waves during the season, and they pick produce, fruits, strawberries, pears, oranges in different parts of Australia. They also do farm work such as cane work, they do cattle work, and we have a real shortage of that type of employment available in Australia, so we import it. Now that's relatively taken care of, and the government in our country takes care of that, and we have a myriad of people that come in each year. That was curtailed somewhat when COVID was on, but the practice still goes on. But as a layperson, I also realise that we have a huge deficiency in skilled labour, electricians, plumbers, this type of thing, because like in every first world country, our youth wants to be the lawyers of the world, the CEOs. They want and perceive that they can get simply by doing tuitional work, that they'll step out of university and college and they're only 5 minutes away from running companies. There's been a disjointment, for want of a better word, a hiccup in as far as our labour systems. No one in my country, or when I say no one, very few people these days want to take up the manual blue-collar work that really is the grease that runs the big machine. No one wants to be plumbers anymore. Or if they want to be plumbers, there's not enough plumbers to teach them. If we want to produce something in our country, we just have not got the technical expertise anymore because we're so used to giving it to countries such as China and whatever. And this is hamstringing our country. You know, yes, we can train our own people if we can find enough people that have a legitimate interest in this type of work. But as far as I know, we're not getting these people that want to do the trades anymore. And there's a few reasons I believe as a layperson this is occurring. Our social security system, to a degree, is the safety net that these people don't have to push themselves. There is the safety net there. And we won't go into safety nets and social security and whatever, because it's there for a reason. But somehow, our training systems are falling down. People want to progress faster. We took apart our apprenticeships systems in Australia and handed them over to learning institutions such as TAFE. Now, bear with me 1 minute. I don't really understand when people such as ourselves have attained usually a fairly high level by the time we retire in manufacturing, in our own businesses, in plumbing and whatever. And then we retire at an age and that void, our retirement, is not being filled. And if it is being filled, in all honesty, I don't think the level of tradesmanship is there like it was in my younger days. Everything's replacement. The skills are no longer there. on the whole that I've observed. Okay, getting back to the Philippines. I can't really understand why governments like my own continue to give support to third world and developing countries, hand over the money, run the headlines in their own country and say, pat themselves on the back that we're assisting these countries, our friends and allies, and really don't seem to have a say in how that money's spent. And I believe as a taxpayer or an ex-taxpayer of my country that if we're going to give millions and millions of dollars to countries such as the Philippines, we should have some say in how it's distributed. Not only for the country's sake, but the benefit's sake. One of those things, considering that the Philippines is the second language is English, so we don't have to overcome that barrier, why we don't work more closely with the Filipino government in reference to their education system that's more acceptable to us. Even if to the point where we have to state this is our criteria and this is what your syllabuses have to contain. That seems to be common sense to me. Maybe it's not. And of course, I'm going to have viewers out there that don't want immigrants to come to their country and so-called take their jobs. Well, I'm going to quote some statistics which may be out of date now, but I read a number of years ago about Australia. And we all know statistics can be manipulated, but let's take them on face value. It was stated that for every immigrant in a country such as mine, and a country of only 25, 26 million people, the size of the United States is somewhat greater. The greatest thing as far as immigration is concerned, that for every immigrant that enters my country, 5 jobs are created. 5 jobs in that country are created for every person that's brought into the country. So the fear of them taking jobs is a furphy. They're actually providing employment simply by virtue of them coming to the country. So if we're to believe those statistics, that's a moot point. Yes, if I'm a factory worker and I'm a lazy factory worker, or I'm a lazy mechanic, or I'm a lazy this or a lazy that, and I think simply because I'm white and a citizen of that country, I should get a free pass, of course I'm going to be worried about someone that's keen and energetic coming into the country with exactly the same, if not greater skills, that might possibly take my employment or my customers. That's a selfish attitude. Because the United States has become great, or had become great, whichever way you want to look at it, through immigration. They took the dregs of the world, and yes, they had their problems, but look where it got them. Australia has to look at Asia. We are part of Asia. And whether or not we know it, we have to assimilate with Asia. And the best way to do that is to open our borders, our immigration. You know, we could be taking 5 times the amount of people from Asia into our country, producing jobs. Now, the great fear is we always considered ourselves to be an Anglo-Saxon based country, the white Aussie, the knockabout bloke. Well, whether we like it or not, the world is changing. You know, we are dead smack in the middle of Asia. We're part of Asia, and no amount of resistance is going to stop, one way or another, Asians from coming into that country. If we don't allow them in, and we don't allow them, you know, to prosper, and to, you know, if we allowed them in, we wouldn't have to worry about, you know, supplying taxpayers' funds, you know, to another country that we'll never see the benefit of. Now, getting back to what I was saying about guys like ourselves and the void that's got, and people come over here with skills that once they get here could be utilised by this country. Why aren't our countries that can't fill vacancies, our companies in our countries that can't get the labour force that they require, you know, invest money in direct education for training? And the training doesn't have to be 4 years. It condensed courses, mechanics. These people are busting to get into positions. You know, they are studious, they're hard-working, but they need an outlet. I don't know if this vlog even makes sense, but somewhere in this very simple idea, there must be an answer that helps both my country and other countries to allow these people, English speakers on the whole, hard workers, educated to a certain degree, but maybe not specialising in areas. It's up to us if we want to fill labour forces, whether it be at home or abroad. You know, simply having them turn up at the door and pass an exam, we don't have to be part of the lucky dip, hoping that people come to our countries. We can train them abroad. We're already giving them money. Why not make sure the money goes to something that can eventually benefit the countries of origins of that money? Anyway, I'll review this. If it's any good, I'll put it on. If it's no good, you'll never see it. Anyway, guys, subscribe if you would. It was just a thought. You know, great things have been made from small thoughts. And when you consider that 40,000 views on a very small channel like this in the last month, that's 40,000 people. Obviously, some people have doubled up. But these small channels and stations reach to the four corners of the world. You know, I don't know. If you're employed by factories and they're not filling vacancies and specialties that they need, go to your bosses. Ask them if they've even considered looking at training people over here. You never know. They've never had anything to do with this country. They may never have thought about it. You know, there is industry set up here where the overseas companies such as call centres train people, and they do a great job. I know the reason why companies set up in places like this, because it's cheap. But what I'm suggesting is that we train them here where it's cheap to do. And the companies, the corporations, the universities, the governments then bring in these fully trained immigrants into the country, and it'll only benefit the countries. You know, think about it, guys. It may be a whole heap of, you know, froth and bubble, I don't know. It may not be able to be done. It was just a thought. It's Phil from Phil and Jen in the Philippines. Keep safe and cheers for now.